Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to this explainer designed specifically to help you get to know your new home, Borlänge, right in the heart of beautiful Dalarna County. Relocating or even just trying to get a better grip on a place you already live can feel pretty overwhelming, right? There is just so much to learn, navigate, and absorb. But hey, that is exactly why we're here today. We're going to break down the essential facts, the practical tools, and some really important reflections to help you build a clear mental roadmap of your city. Let's get started.
First things first, let's establish the sheer scale of your new environment. 50,000. That's roughly how many people call Borlänge home right now. To put that into perspective, when you're trying to figure out a municipality's vibe, population size is always your best starting point. 50,000 means Borlänge has some real critical mass. It's totally large enough to support a vibrant, diverse community and serious infrastructure. But at the same time, it's a size where individual neighborhoods still hold on to their own unique, manageable character. And you know what? You are now one of those 50,000 individuals shaping the daily life of this city. Moving right along to industry and the future. To really understand how Borlänge grew to accommodate those 50,000 people, we absolutely have to look at the powerful link between its heavy industrial past and its bright future. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we mean when we talk about that industrial backbone. Domnervet and Kvarnsvedens Pappersbruk, these aren't just old corporate names in a history book. For sure not. They were the absolute economic heartbeat of Borlänge. They brought families here, sustained generations, and literally shaped the local economy. When you're walking through the city today, you're stepping through an environment where the very architecture and layout were built to support the massive output of these historic mills. It's like a giant puzzle where industry is the main piece. Now, because of that massive industrial weight and the infrastructure that came with it, the city naturally evolved. Borlänge's central location basically transformed it into Dalarna County's main hub for trade and communication. It became the spot. Goods needed to move in and out, people needed to travel, and businesses needed to link up. Borlänge naturally became the focal point where roads, railways, and commerce all intersect, growing from a place of pure, heavy production into the modern, interconnected hub we see today. All right, on to finding your information. Now that we've got the history down, let's pivot to something super practical, how you can actually navigate your municipality's digital systems to find exactly what you need. Getting reliable official municipal info is incredibly straightforward. Honestly, it's a bit of a life hack when you're first settling in. Swedish municipal websites are famously packed with information, but navigating them is a breeze once you know the secret. Step 1, head directly over to borlange.se. That is your official portal. Then, step 2, just click on the section titled About the Municipality. Boom! It really is that simple. I highly recommend bookmarking that specific page because it houses all the critical updates, civic resources, and everyday life info you'll ever need. Next up, your place on the map. Because let's be real, living in a city isn't just about clicking through a website, right? It's about getting out there, navigating the physical space, and actually grounding yourself in the local geography. So the crucial point is actively participating in your own orientation. Let's try this surprisingly fun little exercise to unlock the city's layout. First, literally take out a map, whether that's an old school paper one or just pulling up an app on your phone. Pinpoint exactly where you live. Ground yourself right there. Next, trace the routes to places you go all the time, like the grocery store, the gym, or your workplace. Finally, zoom out a bit and try to identify the different areas around you. Doing this actively builds your mental map, and it totally transforms Borlänge from a maze of unfamiliar streets into your own comfortable, connected network. Moving into our final phase, past and present. We've covered the history, and we've mastered the maps. Now, let's take a breather and enter the reflection phase to bridge your personal past with your present reality here in Borlänge. Let's move to and see how this builds our understanding of local identity. So, what is the name of your area? I know it sounds like a totally basic question, but naming your neighborhood is literally the very first step toward building a real local attachment. You don't just live in Borlänge as a whole. You live in a specific district with its own unique vibe and maybe even its own history tied to those paper mills or ironworks we talked about earlier. Take just a second right now to mentally state the exact name of your area. Got it? Awesome. Building right on that, what can be found in your area? Start mentally cataloging your immediate surroundings. What are the landmarks near you? Is there a local shop you're starting to frequent? A playground? Maybe a really distinctive building, or just a beautiful patch of nature?
By actively identifying these spots, you make a huge jump. You go from being just a passive observer to an active resident who intimately knows the unique little features that make your specific corner of the municipality tick.
Okay, now let's push those boundaries a little bit. What other areas have you visited? It is so easy to just get stuck in the daily grind, the commute routine of bouncing between home and work, but think back to that map exercise we did a few minutes ago. Think about the different areas of Borlänge you spotted. Which ones have you actually stepped foot in? If you really want to understand Borlänge as the central hub of trade and communication for the whole county, you absolutely have to pop that bubble and experience its different facets firsthand.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly frames your personal journey. Ask yourself, which city do you come from originally? And how big is that city compared to where you live now? This is such a powerful point of reflection. Comparing the population, the pace, and the overall scale of your old hometown to Borlänge's 50,000 residents really highlights the physical and emotional contrast of your move. I mean, did you come from a massive bustling metropolis, making Borlänge feel uniquely calm and accessible? Or did you come from a tiny village, making this central hub feel vast and busy? Recognizing this contrast is a game changer for processing your transition and setting real expectations for your new daily life. And that brings us to our final and honestly, probably the most vital prompt from our source material. What are your important words? Our text leaves us with this beautiful open-ended concept of viktiga ord, important words. As you navigate the deep history of Domnarvet, as you click your way through Borlänge.e, trace your new routes on the map, and compare your past to your present, what are the words that will ultimately define your own personal experience here in Borlänge? Is it community? Is it industry? Or maybe hub? Your journey here is completely ongoing, and it's all yours to shape. So I'll leave you with that provocative thought to chew on today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and seriously, have an amazing time exploring your municipality.